Kev.
Thanks very much. I'll pass over to Emma a minute to do the introductions.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December Chilthorne Parish Council meeting. Happy Christmas to all. I've received no items per se for open session. I did receive, there was a forum contact via the website regarding the amount of dog mess being left on the paths and down towards Kings Hill, and would the village benefit from another receptacle for putting certain items in? I'll leave it. Obviously, we can't make a decision because it's an open session item and it was only received 2 days ago, so therefore outside of the time for the agenda. But I'll let you guys have a think about that.
Okay, well, first of all, start off with, I know Paul's not here. Thanks for standing in as the chairman for a few sessions. I've been away. And also thanks very much to Tim for doing that superb letter to the county council the other day on the 73 houses. Fantastic job on that. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll start off with item 1 then. Apologies and absence.
Apologies. Yeah, apologies from Mark. Apologies from Dennis and apologies from Josh. As I say, Tony's given his potential apologies, and I'm assuming that Paul's in the same district council meeting.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we move on to item 2, declarations of interest, if there's any. Okay, then we'll move on to item 3 then, minutes of the previous meeting. I have a copy in front of me, which I've scanned through, but obviously I haven't had a chance to fully watch the last one.
I'm happy with them.
You're happy with them, Tim?
Yes, I read them. Seem all right.
Okay. So we'll mark them as present and corrected. Okay. Item 4 then, County Councillors report.
Hopefully you'll have all received Josh's email.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was there anything on that email that you wish me to reply back to him on, or are you happy?
I suggest we just wait and see whether the small improvement scheme does actually happen.
Yeah, I think that's all we can do at the moment.
Scheduled for beginning of January, isn't it?
4th, I believe.
Yeah, first working day back. That'll be interesting to see if they hit that deadline.
Yes.
Second working day back for some of us already.
Some of us work in between as well.
Yeah. Yes, we certainly do. Okay, so we move on to item 5 then. District Councillors report.
I'll note no report at this point, but obviously if the district councillor joins us before the end of the meeting, we can always come back to it.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, item 6, highway matters.
Yeah, bus shelter licence. This is part of the small improvement scheme, effectively. I'm more than happy to scan in before I sign anything. The reason I didn't forward the email is it was protected by egress, which became somewhat complex to try and extract it, and it wouldn't let me forward it, which was very frustrating. So it did eventually manage to let me print it. It's come from a lady called Emily Mason. She is the legal assistant for property and conveyancing. It has with it the stop sticking together, please, paper. I've been advised by the County Council's Highway and Transport Commissioning team that Chilthorne Parish Council wish to erect and maintain one bus shelter on highway land on the Tintnell Road in the position indicated on the attached plan marked X. I therefore enclose a draft of the Council's standard licence for your approval. I look forward to hearing from you with approval and payment in due course. If you have any queries relating to the same, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Obviously, I need to question the payment side of it because there shouldn't be a payment for the licence. That was part of the agreement for the small improvement scheme.
Yeah.
But I decided that it seems silly to do one without giving her the second bit, or at least forwarding this to Andy Nellis, who's dealing with the small improvement scheme, and saying, can you forward this to Emily, explaining that we're not paying for the licence? Because he'll probably have to confirm that with her anyway. So it was worth getting the agreement signed and dated.
Have we got it documented that we're not paying for the license at all?
I have it on email from Andy Nellis, yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, I can just worried that they, if it wasn't documented, they might brush over that small detail.
No, as I say, I do have it on email. As I say again, I'm more than happy to send through the agreement. Taking out the front sheet, the agreement is 2 pages long. The majority of the first page is the waffle as to who the parish council is, who the county council is, and therefore what they're referred to in the future. Parish council has applied to the county council for consent to erect and maintain one bus shelter on highway land on the Chilthorne Road, Chilthorne Dome, in the position specified in the schedule hereto and shown marked X on the plan annexed hereto, and for the convenience of the persons waiting to enter public service vehicles. And whereas the County Council, pursuant to Section 5(1) of the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1953, has consented to the erecting and maintaining the shelter subject to the terms and conditions herein after appearing. Now, this agreement witnesseth as follows: the Parish Council shall be at liberty at its own expense, but under the superintendence and to the satisfaction of the Director and Lead Commissioner ECI, for the said County Council for the time being, or his or her authorised representative, the Director, to erect the shelter on highway land, Chilthorne Road, Chilthorne Dome, in the position specified in the schedule hereto and marked X on the plan annexed hereto. The Parish Council hereby covenants with the County Council that A, the type and colour of the shelter shall first be approved by the Director. That's already been agreed. It will at its own expense maintain the shelter to the satisfaction of the Director. It shall remove the shelter at its own expense within 3 months of being called upon to do so by the Director. And should it become necessary for the shelter to be removed any time in the future because of roadworks or because as a result of damage or neglect, they become a danger or nuisance on the highway, such removal will be carried out by the Parish Council at its own expense. It will indemnify the County Council against any claims, howsoever arising as a result of the erection and maintenance of the shelters. The County Council, so far as it lawfully can and may, will give to all reasonable facilities for the erection and maintenance of the shelter, and the Parish Council will forthwith make good to the reasonable satisfaction of the Director all disturbance or damage to the said highways, including footways, if any, which may be occasioned by reason of the shelters being erected or maintained, including but without limitation any damage or disturbance or interference with any drains, sewers, pipes, wires or cables laid in or under the said highways, whether or not belonging to the County Council. As witnessed whereof the parties have set their respective hands the day and year first written before written the schedule, and then it's signed for and on behalf of the county, signed by me, witnessed by an independent person. I shall go 2 doors down to my neighbour. And there is the plan.
X marks the spot.
X marks the spot. So this is the X just here.
Okay.
Are we all happy that I signed that, or would you like me to scan it in and send it?
No, I don't need you to send it.
No.
How much money is this going to cost us? Because it sounded as though we were paying for the shelter and the erection.
No, we're not paying for the erection. That's part of the small improvement scheme. Again, these things are, I will confirm with Andy Nellis by email again, but we have had it confirmed that the erection will form part of the works of the small improvement scheme whilst they're there doing that. And we are paying 50% of the shelter costs.
Thank you.
Which off the top of my head, I can't tell you, but it's about £2,000.
Yeah.
If that. Tim, you were nodding. Does that mean that you're happy for me to sign and not send?
Yep, I think so.
Yep.
And Adam?
Yeah, sign it.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to sign it. If you are scanning anything in at the same time, could you ping over a copy of that plan just for my file, if that's okay, just for reference.
What I will probably do is sign it and then scan it and send you a signed copy.
Yeah, that's fine. It's only if you're scanning at the things at the same time, Emma. Don't go out of your way.
As I say, I'll sign it, get my neighbour to sign it, and then scan you a signed copy so that you can all see that it's been done and signed off. The county want the original rather than a scanned version, so I'll have to post it to them. Unless I can get into one of the local offices and get it sent internally.
Sure.
Good evening, Tony.
Evening, Tony.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm a bit late.
It's all right.
That's all I have on highways matters, gents. Thank you.
Okay. Emma, quick question, if I may, on it. Emma, did you get the licence application for the verge side planting that I sent through to you?
I've struggled to open it, if I'm honest, Tim. I know that I sent one back saying that the original one was blank, and I apologise for not coming back to you again. You may or may not be aware that I've not been very well. I've had shingles in my eyelid. So I've not been working on full cylinders, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So if you could resend that, Tim, that'd be fantastic, and then I'll get that into county as well.
Okay, no problem at all. To be honest, I understand that I'm currently dealing with some family problems with my mother-in-law in hospital as well. So yeah, the same. Right, okay. If it doesn't come, you got problems opening this one, come back to me and I'll have another go. But
Fabulous, thanks, Tim.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, it just opened blank the first time that I tried, and it did the second time. It just opened as blank. So I'm not sure what went wrong. It might be your side, it might be my side, it might be the ether. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. I'll try playing with it and see if I can. Cause I opened it and okay, we'll try.
Fabulous, thanks, Tim.
No, Tony's here. Do you want to go back to item 5 at the moment? If Tony has anything to say,
works for me.
If that's all right with you, Tony.
Thank you, Chairman. Is Paul there tonight? Has he reported anything or not?
Not yet.
He's not here.
Okay, right. Only really important thing I've got to really say is this nitrates and sulfates that's contaminating the planning issues that we've got now. We as a district council can't find anyone or any agency or company to take this project on to look into it so we can get on with our planning. So we're still looking. Nobody's come forward, no company. So we're trying to find somebody. Now, other thing tonight, we've all agreed for a stronger Somerset. We had our meeting and we all voted 40 something, I think it was 41 against 14. 14 was against and 41 was for. And it's got to go to the Secretary of State for tomorrow, or the deadline is today. So that's on its way. We voted for that. We won't have another district meeting now until next year, district council. We've got Area East, which is next Wednesday. So if there's any issues you want me to ask or bring up from there, I'm more than happy to do that. Apart from that, Chair, I don't think there's anything else. I'll just stay here for a while and listen to you. If that's...
Thanks very much, Tony.
Can I just ask, Tony?
Yeah.
That vote presumably was for joining up with Menda.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's the 4 other councils for a stronger Somerset. You're absolutely right about that.
Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. I had a problem with my internet.
Common fault in Chilthorne Domer at the moment, I believe.
Sorry about that.
Chairman, maybe Paul might add something on to what I said if there's anything he wants to add on his half.
We're just on item 5 at the moment. Paul, if you have anything to say, District Councillor's report. Tony's just enlightened us on a few things.
Only that I was quite impressed with the presentation we had last week. I've got to be honest, I've been a little bit not really committed one way or the other on this one. But it does appear that the stronger Somerset put a lot more effort in, and it does seem to be the better case. But then I may be biased, but I don't think I am. Because up to now, being fairly neutral.
Can I come on there, Paul, a minute, very quickly? You're absolutely right. It's not that. The thing that I asked at the council meeting, I think you heard that, Paul, was if we do become a stronger Somerset, which means we will take on the role of a county council, what they were doing, we should be doing it as a 4 councils all together. We will be making new schools, building new schools, looking at the roads and other things that goes with it. So that's where it comes from there, because I was quite concerned whether there was any money, anything, and who's going to tackle all the jobs that the county council is doing. So apparently it would happen. Is that right, Paul?
Yes, and obviously, as you're aware, we've had these 2 minor improvement schemes in Chilthorne Domer, which were initiated by, I think it was Sam at the time. And the thing for Halfway, you'll all remember those older councillors. The Halfway was a small improvement scheme to move the speed limit to the other side of Oakley Lane, because the last person dying down here was just on Oakley Lane Junction. And also to reduce it to 30 mile an hour. Something quite simple. And all we've got is some renewed signs and some more paintwork. And the top of Chilthorne, it was intended to be a 20-mile limit all the way through, enforceable. And that was the whole idea of having these 2 highway improvements. All we've got now is a unenforceable speed limit of flashing signs, I suppose. And we only got that because the Tory government said all schools would be 20 mile an hour limit. So the county hasn't really been interested in what we want. They're not interested. Highways do what they want. If we have control, we'll have control of highways. And if we say as a village, we want this, we'll get it. Or we've got a downside better chance of getting it. Because at the moment, we're getting jack. So I got to be honest, when I was on the fence, I'm now coming firmly down on the side of a stronger Somerset. It's something new. It's a better way of going things. What the county's offering or saying is same old, same old. They're not want to change. They're too old. They're just dinosaurs. But, you know, I could rant on all night, but there's no point. We haven't got anything improved down here, and I doubt if you're going to get much up there.
We got nothing up here at the moment, Paul. We got an unenforced limit now at the moment. I still think it's a motorway freer with 1 lane.
Yeah, exactly. And we will, until we get some power in this area of the county to actually produce or control the highways, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Chairman, can I just add on that? Paul's
Yeah, please, Tony.
Also, the leader of Somerset County Council has put their case forward to the Secretary of State. Now, it's what the Secretary of State is going to pull out the hat, whether it's County Council as a one authority or it be us as a stronger Somerset. That's how it is.
Okay, mate. Yeah, I still just find it hard to believe that Chilthorne Domer can get absolutely nothing done. Yet I drive around the country and all the villages, small places around here, all the others get reduced speed limits, but we get nothing. And it's not even enforced half the time.
Because we've got nobody pressing our case, because it's county. We need to have the authority, stronger Somerset, so we can actually put our case forward and get something done. Not just the paint.
No. You know, I mean, you go out Marston Magna, they got a 20 mile an hour speed limit now, wasted out there. So they haven't even got a school out there. Yet they still got a 20 mile an hour speed limit.
They're not uncommon.
Yeah, but there's no school, so it shouldn't be a 20 anymore.
No.
But anyway, let's not dwell on that. Any other items on that? Any other bits on that item? If not, we will move on to item 7, community safety and police matters.
Nothing up to date on the website.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, item 8, financial matters and accounts.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, it's that time of year, budget time of year. You will have all received the budget proposal that I sent through, I trust. Which is that one, the vertical spreadsheet.
I had a job bringing it up. I could only get it on the corner of my screen. Must be doing something wrong.
You can only get it on a quarter of your screen, Hamish, did you say?
Yes.
I was relying on you, Hamish, to have looked at it and gone, yes, that's fine.
I tried all sorts of ways to push it across, but I didn't seem to want to do it.
If only you'd said that, I could have dropped a paper copy round to you. I'd have put it through your door in a very COVID-safe way. Did anybody else have a look? Did anybody else have any questions or any comments? Oh, Hamish, I was so relying on you.
One question, if I may. Contingency funds.
Yeah.
2,000 went in for this year, 2,000 going in for next. I'm taking the fact we've only spent 250, not surprisingly. Can I assume that that's been a roll? That's not a rollover, or is that a rollover?
In what respect a rollover? Sorry.
Okay, I'm assuming that what we have not spent on the contingency fund this year, so what 1,700 and something or other, 85, is not part of is not added to the 2,000 for next year. It's simply disappeared.
That's correct. Yes.
Thanks.
I have one actually. Chairman's fund. Your chairman's fund. What's the
Chairman's fund? That's a discretionary fund. The £35 that was spent in the previous financial year was the flowers for Joe Roundell Green.
Yeah.
It's that kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Item.
Brilliant. So yeah, it's just a contingency fund basically.
Yeah, it's for things like flowers where you think the parish council will need to say sorry or thanks, with sympathy or thanks or cards or a plaque no problem. If you wanted to, that kind of item.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, Emma, if I may, we're going to be talking later about possible support to applications without preempting or wanting to bring that forward. If we were to try to do that, where would that be looked to come from within this? Would that come out of our bank balance of 30,000, which does seem quite high at the moment?
Unless you budget for it and increase the precept request, then yes, it would come out of your bank balance.
Right. Okay.
What I'm suggesting at the moment is that you don't increase your precept request because the bank balance is healthy enough not to. As a responsible financial person, I would never suggest reducing your precept. A few years back, there was a threat that your precept increase would be capped at a certain percentage, which when your precept isn't particularly large, as yours isn't, that percentage wouldn't actually, I think it was about 2.5%, I think, off the top of, I seem to recall that the precept cap threat was 2.5%. And 2.5% of £9,500 isn't a huge amount.
Yeah.
So if you then had something that you wanted to bring forward and precept for, you wouldn't be able to increase it very much, which is why I would say don't decrease it, because just in case that cap comes in, obviously 2.5% of, for argument's sake, £9,000 is less than £9,500, 2.5%.
Okay, and I think that we've got 3 and a bit years of
monies
of precept sitting currently in the bank.
Yes. Again, I would draw your attention to the lack of income to places like the village hall and the recreation area at the moment. Should that continue and they come cap in hand, or should something disastrous happen at the recreation that the committee totally falls apart, you then become responsible as the parish council, as trustees.
And we also got to pay for.
And you've got the bus shelter that you're paying for out of that as well. So just there are items coming forward. In fact, actually, the bus shelter should be an item on there, even if it does come out of that £34,000, that you are aware that you're spending. So I will add that on now.
I think that even if we spent £10,000 on the things that are coming up, we would still have an adequate reserve.
I wouldn't disagree, Hamish.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to spend everything at once.
No.
My gut feeling, Chairman, is that 2 years of precept is a good safety net to have in there. Beyond that, we are open to people looking at the account, at the money we have, and potentially saying, well, okay, things are likely to be tight next year. They're not spending their money. I think we just need to look watch that fairly carefully over the next year and be mindful of that as we look at what we've got.
I think
the auditors,
and being canny.
The auditors do start asking questions if you've got too much sat in the bank.
Adam?
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that in reality, with COVID happening this year and all of the unknowns of next year, I think we've got a relatively viable case for having a decent backup, at least for the next couple of years anyway, while things settle down, because we never know how long this is all going to take. So like you say, if we do get challenged by the auditors, of which I know, probably imagine a lot of charities being charged about their backup fund, there's clearly a case for at least the next couple of years for having more of a slush fund available to us.
May I just remind you all that whilst we might have money in the bank, we don't just give it away. All right, that won't happen. Not under my watch.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Right.
with the addition of the bus shelter line, because we know that we're going to spend that, or that it wasn't technically budgeted for this year, so it will go in this year's middle 3 columns as a zero budget and a £2,000 spend projected, and then a zero in next year's projected spend. With that addition, are you all happy that we stick with a £9,500 precept request, and that this is the budget that we take forward?
I would propose that, yes.
Yeah, second.
Hamish is saying yes.
And for that as well.
And Paul,
Yes.
Adam? Great, thank you very much,
Yep,
all.
supportive.
Moving on to the other spreadsheet, which is non-budgety stuff, although it does obviously feed the budget spreadsheet. Anybody got any questions on the general spend, income and expenditure spreadsheet? Marvellous, I like it when that happens. You'll see from the agenda we've had no receipts other than piddly little interest payments. And there are 3 checks for your authorisation, please. My salary, HMRC payment for me, which obviously forms part of the grand total of my salary. And the laptop software of antivirus and Office is due for renewal later on this month, £64.47. Managed to get a Black Friday deal on the software.
Yeah, well, I'll propose that. It's good enough.
Was good time of year to renew.
It is.
Yes.
I'll
Mental note
second
to
that
self,
if you need on, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Oh, incoming cat, apologies.
I thought we hadn't seen it.
Get out of the way. Finally, on the financial bits, we've had no formal requests for grant monies on the forms or anything similar at this point.
Okay. That concludes item 8.
Thank you very much.
If you're happy, we'll move on to item 9, planning matters. I see we have one.
We do. Line is not making it very easy. Apologies. Yes, there's an application in for the erection of a single-storey rear extension to the dwelling known as 24th Orchard. Hopefully, you've all looked at the plans or briefly looked at the plans.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't been home enough time to look at any of it, so I'm going to have to sit on the fence on this one.
Okay, I did have a quick look at it. I mean, it's a very small extension. It doesn't appear to have any impact on anybody else. Certainly Google Earth shows a sort of fair amount of vegetation and things between houses there. My only surprise looking at it was on the application they said that the materials would be stone and the finish would be render, when all the rest of the building is actually stone. They seem to be rendering it, or just that little corner of the building. So I don't know. That's not really something to worry too much about. But yeah, a little bit surprising on the application.
It's quite a common occurrence with extensions that. Do you know, Tim, if they had the stone coins down the side, or if was it all render?
I think it was all render. I don't think there was anything special on the corner. Certainly, as far as I could tell, it didn't help that the drawing ended up at right angles to the screen. I was sort of trying to look at it sideways. I didn't have any objection to overall to it. I mean, it really looked, from what I saw, that they were simply walling in and putting a skylight over an existing patio.
Mm. Done for cheapness again.
And it's to the rear of the property.
Yeah. Sometimes they put conditions on and they make it look like an extension anyway, don't they? Instead of keeping it blended.
Vanilla ice cream. No, vanilla ice cream? Oh, no.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if anybody else had a chance to look at it, but yeah, my thoughts on that one were probably no objection.
I'm surprised that they even need.
So wouldn't it become under permitted?
It may be, because Forts Orchard is a relatively new development, isn't it?
Yeah.
It may be that they had their permitted development rights removed for extensions at the time of the development being given permission, which might be that it could be the reason that a relatively small extension is requiring planning permission.
Chairman,
Was there any...
if I can...
Yeah, carry on, Tony, please.
Chairman, as you know, back along, the government did allow extension to buildings without planning permission. So he could easily, I suppose, if he wanted to, bypass the way through the council. But I think the right way he's doing it is actually applying for an application just to show that he's trying to do the right thing. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Tim while he was on the website, did you see any objections from any neighbours or anything, Tim?
I must admit I didn't look at that. I was looking at the drawings only. I can see if I can pull that up fairly quickly if you'd like.
Not that the council take a lot of notice of, and even if we do object.
Amen. Can somebody quote me the...
yeah, it's 20/03027.
Okay, this thing still insists on telling me that I'm in Oxfordshire. How fast my internet is.
Should I do it at the same time and see who gets there first? Not as in a race, but just to...
I'll send a pigeon up now from this end.
No comments. Right, at the moment, the only information on there are all the standard documents: neighbour list, supporting information, biodiversity checklist, supporting information photo, the plan and the application form. There are no comments on either as separate documents or as comments on the website.
Thanks, Tim. Brilliant job. Well, I presume we have no objections then as the council.
Not really.
Agreed.
Thanks all.
Okay. So we move on to item 10, Climate Change Emergency Fund.
Chairman, can I say good night to everybody? I don't think you need me anymore. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas when it comes to it. Let's hope we have a better year.
Likewise, Tony.
Thanks,
Merry
Tony.
Christmas.
Cheers,
Yeah,
Tony. It's
yeah,
been
well,
great
good night,
working with
Tony.
you this year.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
then, Tony.
Good night. Okay, we're going to start on item 10 then.
Okay, Juliet, do you want to give an overview, or do you want me to talk about where we are with the Village Hall application?
Yeah, I think if you want to start, Tim, that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay. At the last meeting, we discussed the potential to apply for climate emergency fund or climate emergency elements for the community fund, and that the County Council is making a second tranche of money available with the applications due to close in early January. There are a number of ideas have been floated. I'm going to talk about where we are with the Village Hall one, with my Village Hall hat on for the Parish Council, but I'll also provide an update for the rec, unless you want to do that, Hamish. And then Juliet, if you can come in with some of the other stuff that's where we are with it. But the Village Hall Committee looked at the option and has agreed they would like to make the application. The application has to be done through the Parish Council. That's one of the requirements on the County Council site. And we also actually have to seek the approval, or the support, ideally, of the relevant county councillors, so presumably Josh in our case, for it as well. There's a series of criteria for it. I believe that the Village Hall has met it. The application is for put solar panels on the roof of the Village Hall and a small storage battery, about 13.5 kilowatt hours, actually into the hall. Without quoting all the exact figures, that will have a cost of around about, I think, if I'm remembering the figures, just over 12k, and will reduce the consumption of the Village Hall's electricity by something of the order of about 24% across the year, based on the likely money coming in and the from surplus, and also electricity, plus, more importantly, the offset against the existing electricity bill for the Village Hall. The application will come formally to the Parish Council at the next meeting, but it's being the aim is for it to finalise, or the Village Hall Committee to finalise that application before the next meeting. The Village Hall Committee has agreed to put £2,000 into the scheme if the application is successful, and are making a request to the Parish Council to see whether the Parish Council will be prepared to put a sum of money in as well. Recognising that this is not the only application that may go in, I'm obviously not expecting that, and we can't make a formal decision today on that, but an indication to allow the application to be finalised would be appreciated, or to allow some ex-committee work to go ahead so it could be finalised for the next meeting. I think, Emma, you should have a copy from the Village Hall Committee of the draft application. I think that was sent through yesterday.
Yeah, I think I forwarded it on.
Yes,
If I didn't forward it, I meant to. I did. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So that's now sort of in for the scheme. Hamish, do you want me to talk on the rec one quickly?
You can carry on. It's much the same, but you can carry on.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the rec one is, it's not word for word the same, but it's extremely similar. There is a difference of £1,000 in the cost, mostly because the village hall has asbestos in the roof, and therefore a contingency sum of 1,000 has been put for asbestos waste disposal. I think it's contingency that almost certainly will be required for it. The rec doesn't have that. The figures are slightly different, by a percentage point either way, simply because the rec's electricity consumption is slightly different, both in terms of total amount, and more of the rec events are held in the evening than the village hall events are. So there's a few tweaks and twiddles on that. That is currently with the rec committee, and I would expect them to be passing a draft across in a similar fashion fairly soon, within the next couple of days. Hamish, anything you want to add on that?
They were thinking too that they could put £2,000 towards it, and they would also, they were thinking they might be able to match whatever the parish council would do as well. So in other words, if they'd put 2,000, and if the parish council put 1,000, they'd put another 1,000 to it if need be.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Any idea how much the village hall uses on electric? What's their annual bill, roughly? And the same one for Hamish, really, on the rec. Do you know how much the rec uses, Hamish?
No, I don't know. It's too much.
I've got the figures somewhere. In fact, I had them the other on a piece of paper written out. Yeah, let me dig the document out. I've got it on screen. That's the visual, right. Right, the electricity bill average is around about £330 a month. Sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the rec.
Okay, but that's answered that side of it.
Get the right one. Yeah, electricity bill for the hall is just under £2,000 a year, which is around about 25% of the running costs for the hall.
Okay. So you're looking at a 6-year payback to get that back on there?
Yes.
Without any maintenance costs or anything else?
Maintenance costs have been factored in. The village hall committee would be meeting that.
Okay. Yeah. So cost against saving is quite good over 6 years, really.
Yes, and I mean one reason I can't, one reason it's saying just under 2,000 is that the village hall is actually having a dispute with the power company on the size of the bill it's been having. This is against what what the village hall committee thinks it should be paying for the electricity, not what they have been paying over the last year.
Okay, and I presume the rec is having the same system with the same Tesla battery backup and all that for electric storage?
Correct. It's pretty much the same package for both of those. I mean, at the moment they have had 2 quotes. This is the one that is actually best worked up with the same company providing. They have a second quote coming in, but as of yesterday, it hadn't actually been received. The rules for the application only require 3 quotes if the total application is over, I think, £50,000, 50 or £55,000.
Yeah. But we're looking at a 12-year payback over the rec one compared with the village hall.
No, I think
£3,900 per year, which is double the village hall. So it's going to be twice a year, isn't it?
I think there is a difference also, though, in the timings that they're expecting to be able to use the electricity as opposed off peak as opposed to otherwise, in terms of when they actually get the maximum benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at sort of figures, just on cost against expenditure against payback in length of time. Okay.
I don't quite follow that reasoning.
You don't put,
No, if the whole setup saves X amount, it would still save that amount. And if X amount is 1/5 of the cost of putting it in, it would still only take 5 years.
but you've got your £3,300 per month on the rec and only £2,000 a year on the village hall. So
Cost
you're
of,
left.
cost of electricity, you mean?
Well, that's what Tim's
that's
just
why
said.
I'm quoted on that one. Okay, the figures on that I've seen looked more similar than that in terms of payback period. Kevin, let me have a go back and double check and ask a question, but I'm pretty sure that they only varied by a couple of years in the payback period.
Presumably because of the off-peak
Because
use.
yeah, off peak and time of day and night and what they're using.
Yeah.
I've got the Solar Sense quote for the recreation centre up on my screen, and it's got a graph showing how the savings and income accumulate over the years, and it's showing that payback is 9 years on that one, and then over 25 years they would then be £20,000 better off.
What's the payback period? Can you remind me what payback period was on the village hall? Have you got that one, George?
Yeah, I'll just.
I've got it somewhere, but not immediately to hand.
So that one, yeah, that one's showing 10 years, but what I'm not 100% certain about is whether that's including battery or not.
I'm not sure whether that was the battery option or not, because okay, let me have a look. Find the
difficult when haven't printed everything off.
The question I've got as well is, so this is only assuming that we do the installation of solar. Surely there is going to be an assessment of how we can make the buildings more energy efficient, so actually we can depend more on solar than actually consuming with only a 24% recoup.
difficult for both buildings because of the site that, you know, effectively as single-story large roof buildings, the loss of heat is considerable. The bills are different for each one. The village hall, the heating tends to be on during the hours it's used only, and not otherwise, and there's no other real electrical drain. The rec has also got the coolers, for the fridges and for the cellar, and they provide, that means that its consumption is rather different.
I think it's a good point that you've made, Adam, and that is generally seen as the first step that you should take, is to look at making sure that a building is properly insulated. But I don't know. Do you know, Tim or Hamish, the heating in the rec and the village hall, is that electric?
Sure, certainly village hall is electric. I mean, there's no other heating source there. It's basically electric heaters down the side of the main hall and in the committee room, and electric also used for the on-demand heating of the hot water, because that's all. There's no tank in the village hall because they've just gone through the Legionella assessment.
Okay.
The rec is the same. It's completely electric because there's no alternative apart from oil.
Okay. I mean, I wonder if I don't know how well insulated either buildings are. I don't know whether anyone on either of the committees knows. I mean, the village hall isn't that old, so you would have thought that it should have had some pretty reasonable insulation put in when it was built.
It's also got, it had a new roof put on it. When was it? Somebody who was here at the time can tell me, but I think it was no.
Getting on for 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
But
so I think it was about
the
2000.
recreation ground should be up to building regs because it didn't have a lot of work done recently, so they've had to brought that all to building regs anyway.
I mean, I guess the point being, I mean, when's the deadline for this application to be submitted?
Early January.
Early January. Okay, so I mean, it's a bit short time now. I was wondering whether we had the time in December to get someone in to do that assessment, to just basically assess to say, okay, well, actually, if you got the solar installed, but you made these changes as well, you'd make far more benefit in the just basically having a quick look at the consumption, having a look at what's there, and go, well, actually, if you replace this heating system or if you do this, that's going to allow you to be far more efficient with your consumption.
I think probably the thing that's worth it, and I totally agree, Adam, is to actually have a quick look at the insulation in the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think, given the construction of both buildings, that's pretty much the only thing you could do that would have a significant impact on heat loss on them. Given the combination of how they're constructed and the shape and how they're used. But I think that's a very good point. And let's go take a look and see. I don't know the answer, but I do know that Sandra, I'm sure, and her husband will know what's in there, because I know that Nick's been up in the roof on occasion.
I'm just really thinking, if we can get it from 24% to 35, 40%, that's going to make a significant difference on the recoup, isn't it? So
and I'm thinking we could potentially add that into the request.
Well,
so going back to my original question, and I was spot on, and we're somewhere between 6 and 12 years.
Yes.
No doubt, Kev. No doubt.
The graphs that I've brought up are showing 9-10 years. But yes, I'm not sure that includes the batteries. So if you take into account, if we had a battery, then the energy made during the day that isn't being used, especially in the recreation club, that could then be used in the evening. So that would be a greater. It's tricky because the battery obviously will cost more, but then they will be able to utilize more of the.
Does that allow for any deterioration in the system?
In the batteries?
No, in the solar, in the photovoltaic cells, because after so many years they start deteriorating.
Isn't that part of the service costs, though, as part of that?
But then I'm just asking, so I've put quite a few of them together over the years, and I'm just asking what systems you're looking at.
I don't know what the expected reduction in generation is.
Yeah, I mean, they put it this way: the application is saying that it's done within standard MCS practice, and my understanding is from what I just did with a non-solar system that includes an element, that includes the requirement to cover effectively the through life costings for it. But again, Kev, if you've got some advice on that you know it better than I do, then very happy to take it.
I just know there's a deterioration on the panels over so many years.
Is it worth, given that I guess there's a lot of information we probably need to go away and discuss on this, is it worth having an agreement in principle based on information we receive back? And ultimately, this is a grant, isn't it, that we're going to be entitled to go and claim for? So it's not as if it's coming out of our coffer straight away.
Seems reasonable.
It's just a suggestion, Kev. We've got a lot of questions we probably need to go in and answer, but I guess if we need to submit this in January, we haven't got the luxury of time necessarily to come back and redebate this again in another session.
Well, we need actual figures, facts and figures, don't we? That's what we need.
Yeah. Tim, can I just ask? Did you say just now somebody's been up in the roof?
I'm pretty sure that Nick's been up in the roof. Not immediately, but in recent years.
That's a bit concerning because the roof of the village hall is, as you know, not very safe.
No, there's two layers to it because they stuck a new roof on over the old one as the last thing. I think he went inside.
And the old roof is asbestos.
Yeah, but I think he was up in. I think it was in the loft, just checking the loft space.
I didn't think there was a loft space in the village hall.
I think there is. I think there's a fairly thin one.
Oh. 6 inches, maybe.
But I mean, one of my question is, what's in it? Yeah.
There's a complete roof in it. They actually cased the roof in with which is asbestos, with those tile sheets.
Yeah, but have they put any insulation between them?
Oh, I don't know about that bit.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to play with that roof.
Well, that's why we've got money in there for asbestos. If any of if any of the penetrations need to be have stuff removed, that's why there's £1,000 in the budget for that.
How many different quotes have we got so far?
This is based on the Solar Sense quote, which is the fullest one we've had. I know there's one other quote been received, but that's been asked for, and that's is due in, but hasn't been seen yet.
Okay, how many do we need, Emma?
One.
How many quotes do we need? 1, 2, 3?
It would depend from you as a council as to how much you would be considering giving. Just because the community fund only needs one quote because it's less than £50,000 doesn't mean that you would only need one quote, depending on how much you were thinking about gifting to the project. The fact that Tim says there's a second quote coming, hopefully, would be certainly beneficial.
Okay.
I've shared it also with the group that have been looking at this as well, that I got quite close contacts with British Solar Renewables as well, and I was going to reach out to them. I know the CEO actually, so I work quite closely with him. So it's I was going to reach out to him at least to kind of get some more high level ideas on the art of the possible, but also to see if there's they could provide a third quote or refer us to the third quote, just to get do that due diligence. But I'm sure he'd be more than willing to offer just some advice on what we've been recommended, to sort of pick out the holes. So at least we're going into this with our eyes fully open on this. Thanks
very much, Adam. Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Thank you. I don't know whether you want to liaise with Joan Ostheimer, who's the one that's been getting the quotes in so far, because I know that she's she's spent quite a lot of time on it, and I don't know whether I did suggest another company to get a quote from, and I think
I guess
capacity.
I guess, obviously, as you're representing Green Steps, and I guess looking after running it, if you could ask Joan to forward the information on to me, so there's a clear demarcation of parish councillor and Green Steps, that would make it easier. And then if you can ask her to forward it on to me, I can then take that and have that conversation offline and feedback both to the council and obviously to Green Steps as well, just with the information that I get back from that one.
Thank you very much. That would be great.
No dramas.
Are there any other questions on the solar aspect of the project?
I don't have many other than good luck.
I think it's a good idea.
Be slightly easier now. We can actually at least get together a little bit more. I mean, trying to do this all remotely has been entertaining. Yeah,
tricky. I'd just like to feedback or update on the other two aspects. If you recall from the last meeting, there were three different sort of project ideas that we're considering putting in different applications for. So the solar panels was one. The second one was a project at school. Lara Honor, who's the other environmental champion, she has been getting quotes for the work at the school and also on the school's allotment plot, and she is going to be asking the head teacher if how much money the school would like to contribute. Tim and I have discussed the sort of contributions for this project and feel that it's probably not suitable for asking the parish council to contribute to that one, but it still would have to come through the parish council. That's the requirement of the funders. that happens. The last that I heard from Lara, I'll just check, she hasn't sent me anything else in the last hour or so, was £6,000. I think that's oh, here we go. So so I think it's 6 for the materials and 4 for labour. So looking at about £10,000 in total for outdoor learning area, a wildlife area with fenced pond, forest school area with fire pit, and increased screening around the playground because the children are exposed to particulates from the traffic on Tinternall Road, and then also the allotment, the school allotment, which could be used at weekends. Laura's talking about running a children's club at weekends for any children that want to come. So that's that project, but we have literally just got that quote in, so Lara hasn't written that up. But the parish council still, at the last meeting, we got a sort of general agreement that we should, look at putting in the application. I don't know if anyone's got any further questions on that part of it.
This is an application to the same fund that we were talking about for the
It's the same fund. So I spoke to the fund manager and she said, well, you can apply for as many projects as you like, up to a total of £75,000. And she said, she suggested that we put in individual applications for each of the projects, and then they can choose which ones they want to support or not, rather than putting it in as one big project. And then you either have a yes to all of it or a no to all of it. So that was her suggestion.
Where's the pond going to be built to and everything else then?
So that would be in the area sort of between the school and the rec, if you like, when you're stood in the rec car park, and you've got the green fence and the big gates going into the grassy area. It's going to be in there. There's some trees, so that's going to be the forest school area will be part of that field. And the head teacher is extremely supportive of it all. She would really like there to be more outdoor learning. It's obviously with COVID, it's being encouraged to do as much learning outdoors as possible, and it's also being seen as extremely beneficial for children's mental health, which is a lot of information in the press about at the moment. So yes, she's extremely supportive of it all, but it does need the support of the parish council insofar as the application goes through you and the money comes to the parish council, that it can then be run through the school basically.
Okay.
Any questions on that one, Adam?
Sorry, just on the forest school area, just a question in terms of actually, is access going to be available to people if they wish to use that? Like, for example, if you had a family who wanted to go and have a look at the pond, and or is it going to be essentially a restricted area for school attendees only?
I think that is going to be for the school only, probably, because of sort of, well, the school is locked on weekends and out of hours basically. I don't think it's something that's been discussed, but that was sort of what the allotment area was planned for, that it wouldn't just be vegetables, there would be some flowers on there as well, and some sort of willow structures, Living Willow, around the little seating area. So that would be available for local families and children to use.
I was just thinking more, sorry, in as a response to that, just more actually if the village had a wish at some point, they wanted to run an event along that sort of lines and wasn't affiliated with the school, but more actually associated with Forest School or an event of some kind that could utilize that area. If the parish council obviously are backing it, I think access should be considered in terms of actually whether it can be granted access with the appropriate controls, so that actually the wider village potentially could use it in an organized fashion. I'm not talking about free for all. I'm just thinking more about actually utilizing it, bearing in mind that Lara is busy, and as are many people. But if actually someone wanted to run a weekend activity, that potentially could be considered, especially if this is being funded for the village.
I think everything's open for discussion, isn't it? So I can put that to Lara and their teacher to have a think about. Certainly the applications are looked upon more favourably for things that are open for more people to use. Hamish
has a question.
I should think the school insurance would have something to say about it being used by outside people.
Yes, I mean schools do have let out their spaces and have sports facilities that are used by the public and all sorts of things. So I don't know what may or may not be possible. We can ask the question. Yeah.
Juliet, I mean, quick question. I mean, having been involved in putting together the drafts for the village hall and the rec, trying to cram the information into the forms that are mandated on the website, there's not a lot of space. The school one is going to be a very complex application. From your discussions with the fund manager or the fund manager, are they happy to see additional information provided alongside the piece? I mean, the one we're describing for the school, very much sort of needs details and vision and more information alongside the somewhat harder piece of how much money, what are you doing, and which of the boxes are you ticking in terms of the climate emergency policies.
Can we cross-reference an annex with the application?
Sorry, cross-reference what?
An appendix to the application, in terms of actually in the application itself, just reference points in an appendix where you can then expand it out with the required information. I
will ask her. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Yeah.
Because certainly, I mean, even for the village hall and a rec, some extra information, particularly with what we just discussed. If we need to put some more detail in there, that can be that. There's not a lot of place in those forms to put it at the moment.
No.
What you're looking for is actually just a application from the parish council, not actually funding. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's appropriate to ask the parish council for funding for
no, not for the school.
Basically solely school.
No.
Project. As Adam said, potentially we could try and see if it could be opened up for other people to use at other times, but it's primarily going to be for use of the school. So yes, and given the discussions earlier about budgets and things, yes, the projects, the other projects would sort of benefit more from funding from the parish council than the school one.
Okay.
So is everyone happy for us to continue working up that application with a view to approving it on the 12th of January? Anyone not happy with that? Marvellous, thank you very much. And then the final one is the community engagement project, which we've actually sort of taken the first steps in doing the newsletter, which I hope some of you have seen had through your letterbox. So
I don't know, I've only just got home tonight.
Right, okay.
Some reading.
So Adam has kindly set up a survey for villagers to complete on their thoughts on what aspects of this part of the project they support. So things like seed swaps and litter pick kits, repair cafes where they can bring things to get fixed and things. So I'm not in a position to have a costing for this until the results of the survey are in, which is the 14th of December. So it's not going to leave a great deal of time. The other part.
Sorry, just a feedback. We've had 6 survey submissions yet as part of that, just to make you aware.
Okay, thank you very much. So a big part of this part of the project would be to get people's email addresses so that we can start sending out information digitally. So we'd have 12 months of paper newsletters and then move across to digital ones, and really encouraging people to start using the village forum that Adam has set up as a way to communicate, not just for the green steps ideas, but all aspects of village life could greatly be improved if we get more people to use it. So by having events that are promoted through the forum, we can get more people using it, and that we're really looking for buy-in from the community. We want it to be very community-led. Green Steps is a group of interested people that want to involve anyone and everyone in whatever way they want to get involved, making small steps, big steps, whatever they feel capable of doing, but informing people and helping them to take those steps, and putting things in place that make that easier. So that's that project, and part of that will be include the community allotment that Adam's been working on already. So we are asking people whether they would be interested in having one of the raised beds on the community allotment. And so part of this project would include the infrastructure for the community allotment. I don't foresee the total budget for this one being a lot. The minimum that we can put in for this funding bid is £5,000, and I don't think we're going to be looking at much more than that, probably. I think it would be, if we could put in a £5,000 project, they'd be quite likely to grant that one, and that would be a really good sort of first thing for the Green Steps to be doing, I think. Has anybody got any questions on any of that?
Juliet, when do you think that you'll have a draft application worked up that could cover that one? I mean, sometime after the 14th question mark. Yeah,
I guess. Well, I started doing bits of the application that I could today. I mean, I suppose if I could send it out before Christmas, if I had a week or something, the 21st. Yeah.
As the community allotment was a parish council initiative originally, I'm happy to feed information into that as is necessary, mainly because the draft designs I shared on last month's meeting has some of the information in there, but also now we're essentially getting to the stage where we've got per bed costs, and I think the idea is if we're looking to get this funded by a grant rather than the parish council funding this, it would mean we can accelerate the development of that, I guess, provided we get enough support really through the responses to the survey to actually from people who are actually interested in having that. We've had, of the people that have submitted back on their survey, 5 out of 6 of them have said that they would be very interested in a community allotment. So that's relatively positive, but I think we probably need to have more of a cross section of the village potentially submitting that. But I'm happy, certainly for the purposes of the application draft, to provide you information, so and a breakdown of some of the costs that have been worked on already. So that might at least help with some of the burden of getting that one ready.
Brilliant.
You know where I stand on the allotment at the moment, because I haven't seen a spade turn there yet, so I'm not happy.
Yeah, well, Kev, as we discussed offline, at the moment we're only expecting the parish council to pay for the £25 annual fee.
That's it. Yeah.
It's not due for renewal until May, so I would suggest that actually that date's based on the financial figures that Emma sent out in the last statement. So this year's obviously been a very hard year anyway, in general, with many things getting sorted. And I think now if we get some backing from the village in terms of a response, and we can accelerate that, then we would like to think that we'd be in a good position to get that in use.
But I think, if I may, the other thing on that, Adam, is that if we can get, I know that Kevin's got valid concerns over it, for the parish council for supporting the whole cost. If we can get the majority of the costs for the startup paid centrally, then the ongoing costs for support will be considerably less and can be tested against what real support it's got once it's closer to your vision. So I think I think the application for it is really good, and that we ought to be pushing for that. There's a separate question to be asked about how fast or how far we go if we don't get that application. But if we don't ask, then we would have to make those decisions early.
Can we go back to the item we're dealing with at the moment, because we have now jumped to item 13 on the list?
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I didn't get the agenda, so I didn't know that a community allotment was down there for later on. So can I just ask whether the parish council might consider a small contribution to this part of this application, if it was, say, £5,000, would the parish council consider possibly putting in 500 as a sort of just to show the support there? And I think it would be looked upon favourably by the fund manager and the committee that are considering it.
Well, you all know where
I will remind you, councillors, you can't make a decision on monies. You can make a principle, but not on figures.
And Hamish wants to say something, I believe.
The allotment is a great idea, but it's only going to appeal to 2 parts of the village. All the, it doesn't sound very good, but all the rest of the village have big enough gardens as it is. So it's a restricted market, so to speak.
Well, I guess it's probably better to cover the particular debates on the allotment in the section, I think. Yeah,
we've jumped.
Can I suggest? Okay, I mean, we need to see the application clearly. My feeling is that when we see what the balance of costs and the activities are, and what Juliet's describing is not just the allotment may be a significant part of it, but there's a whole load of other activities being proposed as well within it, that we can take a view of whether the balance of money is appropriate, and recognizing the concerns over spending what could be a reasonable sum, at the same time, we need to look at the merits, and the breadth of the ideas being presented. So, I think my feeling would be, if there is a compelling case, it could be supported, but that until we see the case, then we won't know.
Okay. Well, until I see spades being dug up there, it's not being supported at the moment.
You'll see strimmers there, Kevin.
Yeah.
I would just like to say that the community allotment is just a small part of this project. So there will be a lot of other parts of it that will be inclusive of everyone in the village, because we'll be looking at all aspects of the way people live their lives, their energy use, travel, water, food, biodiversity, things like that. So it will be all encompassing for everybody else. So the community allotment will be it's just one part of it. So I sort of encourage you to think of it quite holistically, really.
I was first to propose it, Juliet. It's not that, it's just I want to see it being used. That's all I want to see, is it being used.
We all do, yeah. And I think if we all work together, then we can make it happen. And Adam is very keen about it.
Adam's doing a good job, and he's trying to push it, but he needs some support as well, but he can't do it all on his own.
No, exactly. So
okay.
So we're all heading.
If we finish with item 10, then we're going to move on, because we've got other things to deal with.
One very small question. One of the things on the application is whether our parish council has quality status, which I don't know anything about that. We don't. Right. Okay. I just wanted to check.
We're far too small to even consider it, Juliet.
Thank goodness.
Oh, right. Okay. Thanks, Emma.
Okay. Are we all happy with that item 10 yet? Then we'll move on to item 11 then. Clerk's report and correspondence.
Nothing significant to report, really, as Tim can probably attest to. The only thing really to note is that the SALC AGM is coming up on the 16th of December at 6 p.m. Unfortunately, I have a previous commitment on the Wednesday, the 16th of December at 6 p.m. And I don't know if anybody else wishes to attend.
I think I can see a man right in the middle of a screen that would love to attend.
Do we have an agenda for it?
We do. I believe it's on one of the emails that I've forwarded to everybody. If not, I can resend again.
Okay, sounds good. I'll have a look.
Could you have a look at that for us, Tim?
Yeah, I'll have a look. The only caveat is that it's dependent on the family issues being slightly more under control than they are at the moment.
Yeah, by all means, mate.
On that note, Tim, I'm aware that the flurry of emails coming your direction is because of a SALC email question initially. The Parish Council haven't had a SALC representative for many a year. Would anybody wish for me to put their name forward to SALC so that they could be added separately to the mailing list to SALC?
That isn't a volunteer. I want to ask a couple of questions, Emma. I mean, I think, thank you for the avalanche of emails.
Welcome to my life. I get them twice because I do 2 parish councils.
You need to volunteer before you can ask questions, Tim.
That's all right.
He's volunteered. I've seen him put his hand up. He said, I do.
He did.
I second.
Yeah,
we'll review the minutes next time.
You're voted in.
Bluntly, as we discussed, I think the vast majority are of questionable added value, and I would suggest particularly those that come from commercial organisations. But the ones that come bearing a .gov.uk email address, and probably SALC, unlike NALC, actually look like they do have some interest. There's some courses and things I noticed that were several months back in the middle of lockdown, and in some cases before it. There's some other bits and pieces. So the added value of those, I would suggest to the councillors to see, is reasonable. It's probably reasonable. I mean, what I've done with my inbox is actually got it. Everything on the council is automatically diverted to one of the subsidiary inboxes, so I can then review it once a day, rather than it clogging absolutely everything. But I'm wondering whether people would wish to see some of those ones, because as I say, I mean, I think asking Emma to review absolutely every single one and spot all of the things that we might be interested in, is difficult. The commercial ones, I think, is a no-brainer. All they're trying to generally do is either sell things or or it's newspapers. But the others, as I say, there's some stuff of interest, whether it's on the current COVID, whether it's on some of the post-COVID pieces, when it's on things like the policies on climate emergency. I think those are things which I would suggest we ought to be slightly more interested in.
I would add that most of the .gov addresses pre-COVID weren't sending emails.
And actually, I would say that about 90%, looking at the numbers, around about only 10% of the total email traffic is is covered by those or Sulk. I mean, it's 1 or 2 emails a day, not the sort of 9 or 10 that.
I think it was 12 yesterday, Tim.
It's less than 100. It's got to be good. But in terms of the numbers, and most of them. It's possible to scan fairly quickly and say, oh yes, is there something of interest, A, to the council or B, to an individual councillor on it? If not,
which is what I tend to do at the moment for all of them is to scan them and is there anything of any use? Yes, no, and if the decision in my head is yes, then I'll forward it.
Yeah, okay, but not very many hit that target, I think, over the last couple of years.
I have in the past sent, you used training courses as an example. I have in the past sent emails regarding training courses prior to you joining us, and nobody replies.
Okay.
So I've taken that as nobody's interested.
Interested, but may not be able to attend. It's a case of looking, and particularly if they've got a price attached to them, is it worth it? But I would suggest, and it's a decision for all the councillors, but I feel we ought to be seeing a little bit more of the stuff that is being formally pushed down to the council, particularly by government. We are part of that chain, and rely on Emma's judgment and good offices for all the other stuff, and unless there's something that isn't of that is of interest there, that would make both her life easier, and I think would actually help inform ourselves. I'm very much looking at it being automated, Emma, with a simple thing in your mailbox. If it comes from the following address, send it. If not, then it goes into your for consideration pile.
And has anybody else got a comment on this at this point? Just before any agreement or decision is even considered.
Well, I'm happy with the amount of the standard what I've been getting. I'm happy with, because I don't have the time to deal with them, so I let Emma email filter them out. If people want them all, then Emma forwards to them all. So
can I suggest that perhaps if we do a trial for 1 or 2 months, and if people are still considering that actually there's no added value in them arriving in the inbox, and I can work with you, Emma, and look at the what a filter might be on the system, to do that automatically.
I think, Tim, volunteering to be the SOC rep, I think you'll get them anyway now.
Thank you, Kevin. It's not the Sulk. It's not just the Sulk ones I'm suggesting that we ought to be seeing, and bluntly, yeah. I think we ought to be taking that interest. If we are taking this seriously, we are part of the government, of the local governance chain, Adam. And these are the emails in it.
Adam.
Sorry, I was just going to say, to be honest, I receive over 800 emails a day at the moment. So for me, I would be if I'd prefer this if it was an opt-in and an opt-out in terms at this stage of who wants to receive those, because to be honest, if I receive them, I'm just not going to have the headspace to deal with them, and I'd rather just get a summary at the monthly meetings, or even just a summary email from if something comes out specifically, get forwarded on to me. That's just my own personal opinion. I'm happy to receive them, but I can say with a relative amount of confidence, I'm not going to have the time to process it.
Yeah, I don't get that type of many emails, but I get more than enough to deal with per day as it is.
Either that, or if you want to send me the Sulk emails, I'll happily forward on all my other emails to everyone else, just so you can feel the love as well. I'm happy to do that.
You're okay for that.
Hamish and Paul, what would you like to do? Because I think we're going with an opt-in option possibly here, Tim, at the minute.
No, we're definitely up to date.
So I think Adam and Kevin have opted out and you've opted in. Hamish?
Yeah, I'll opt out.
Opt out? Okay. Paul? Oh, you're on mute, Paul.
You're on mute.
Getting too used to this thing. I have too many already at the moment. Unless it's important or relevant to this area, I really haven't got time for it.
Okay, so Tim, I'm quite happy to set up an auto SALC, and I will try with the .gov.uk, but they sometimes will get missed. I won't, you know what these rules are like. Sometimes they won't spot them all, or they'll spot ones that they shouldn't have spotted.
Yep.
But I won't be manually, because that's been adding to my workload anyway. I won't be manually forwarding to them. So hopefully you won't get the Brox app and the public sector executive, although I think the public sector executive might have a Gov UK email address.
I don't think it does.
Okay, that's good then, because they're the ones that are talking about stuff going on up north.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you very much.
We all happy with that, Tim?
Yep.
Okay. We happy to move on to the next item then?
Oh, more than. Oh, hang on. Tim, was that a yes? You were going to be SALC rep. Do you want me to?
I will stick my toe in the water with it and see, and if I consider that it is has any added value, I'll continue, and if it doesn't, then I'll report back.
I don't think there'll be much to do, if I'm honest. It's things like attending the AGM and where you can, family problems and commitments allowing. And I will add you. I'll communicate with SALC and get. Do you want me to get you added to the mailing list rather than having that as an auto forward, or do you not really care?
If I can get myself off a bloody NALC one, it would be even better. I'm happy to be added to their mailing list.
Okay, I'll add you rather than replace me, but I'll add you as well as me onto the SALC mailing list.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully two eyes are, will spot things.
Yeah, and then we can take it in turns to share the love with everybody else when we see stuff that's important.
Okay, we're going to move briskly on to item 12 then. Village broadband. Over to you, Adam, please.
Yeah, okay, so this is just something I've been chatting with Kev about, just at a high level really, recently, about an initiative to benefit the village. The view would be that it wouldn't be run as a council entity, but more actually, I thought it would be good to actually run it as part of this. The reason for that being is, I'll explain it in a bit more information, a bit more detail, but at a high level, the village, certainly the Chilthorne, Domer and surrounding areas outside of Yeovil are not going to be getting super fast broadband, certainly within the next couple of years. It's not on BT Openreach's rollout plans. They're obviously focusing on cities and large towns first. Yeovil is getting super fast broadband from a provider called Jurassic Fibre, who are coming to the area. I've been having a long chat with their MD and operations director, and they are not coming out as far as us, even though we're only a couple of kilometres outside of the town. But they've expressed that there's no financial benefit in them doing that. A lot of them are being funded by large organisations, and they require significant sign-ups if they're going to extend their perimeter. So certainly for the the foreseeable 2+ years, we are going to be left in the land of very slow broadband, unfortunately. So one of the things I've been looking at, so in my area of IT, I've done a lot of work with wireless broadband and certainly getting data across long distances. And I've had a joint conversation with the operations director, well, sorry, the head honcho at YTFC and also Jurassic Fibre, looking at the possibility of getting a super fast provision broadband link into the stadium, and then piping it over the ridge to the village, to essentially allow us to have super fast broadband but delivered wirelessly, rather than having to rely upon BT Openreach's glorious network. The way this would work is you would have essentially a small dish put up at YTFC, which would then send it down to a couple of receivers in the village, and they would then essentially pipe it out across the village. And the view this would be is be run as a not-for-profit cooperative. So the break even isn't a significant number of people, but actually the view would be is that any profits that would come out of that would look to support the costs of running it, but also then any additional profits on an annual basis will then come back into the village to go to village initiatives. So the benefit of running as a not-for-profit is we do have the ability to cover some of our operational costs with grants, etc., as a non-profit organisation. As soon as we associate ourselves with the parish council, unfortunately, then become a government organisation or associated with a government organisation, and then means that we're not entitled to a lot of that. But at a high level, if I just share my screen very quickly, if I can do that, hang on a second. Bear with me. Desktop 2. Here we go. Hang on. Hopefully this is just sorting itself out. Can you see my screen okay?
It's come up there, yes.
You have a plan.
Okay, so this is the survey tool that I use for wireless installations. So essentially you can see here the installation at YTFC, clearing the ridge. The view that would be actually we have a main receiving point. Hang on, let's zoom out a little bit. The habit of doing that. Over on Chilthorne Lane here, so Kev has very kindly offered the use of his rather tall roof as a point of that, and the nice thing is that has a clear line of sight from YTFC. Then being able to pipe it into Main Street, and then from there having the ability to get coverage over the whole of the village with quite a lot of ease. The view would be and the way I've deployed, I've been involved with a project running this up in Buckinghamshire before, and the way we essentially did it is if we need to have a distribution dish on someone's roof, we install it and in exchange give that person free broadband. So it's essentially a way of being able to cover the cost rather than having to pay for people's use of their roof. But essentially, the cost of having this installed, we're looking at between 15 and 20 people having an uptake to actually break even on all the costs and installation charges. So we're not talking about a significant part of the village. I've also been speaking to one of the governors from the school. They are also looking at paying for a dedicated lease line to come into the school at the moment, not looking at this kind of service. And when I mentioned this to the governor, they said they would have a lot of interest in that because this it would be significantly cheaper than getting BT to essentially dig a trench from Yeovil all the way into Chilthorne Doma for them to use for their purposes. So there's already a bit of interest from people I've spoken to anyway. But at a high level, I wanted to bring this to the council just to show the discussions that have been happening. I think this would be something that's really good for the village. In addition to that, when we get, if we were to get fibre in a couple of years' time, this wouldn't necessarily mean that we would then cease this service, because there may be a wish for people to keep using this, as it would be benefiting and be run by the village itself. You know, there's plenty of options there, but as far as this project is concerned, it would be a look at initial 2-year project, and we've got the support of YTFC to have the equipment up at their stadium. They've actually been really supportive with the discussions and actually the initiative that we've been discussing. So, any questions or comments, please?
I spoke to Mark the other night, and he was very interested in the service, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
So that would probably potentially be 2 customers this end straight away.
To give an indication of people of speed and cost, we'd be looking initially to give a 50 meg service. So that's not you know, blazingly faster than that. So we start from 50 meg and can go upwards from that. But you'd be looking about £20 per month to cover that from a customer's perspective. So actually, as far as the cost is concerned, we'd be making sure that we are competitive for cost. But it means that, you know, that still means that we would break even with not so many customers. So obviously, each link that comes out from the stadium only has a certain amount of bandwidth. So when you get to a certain number, you then have to put a second link in there to get that to get added bandwidth put in. But by which time, I would like to think we have a significant amount of interest in the village to do that. So, yeah.
I think the village hall would like it as well.
Yep, I think that's very likely.
Well, yes.
That's why I've not progressed the other broadband, because I was aware of this scheme.
Yeah.
So I haven't progressed the Vodafone option, because that seemed a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I still don't understand how I get the speed I do at this end of the village, but that's another matter.
It's because of all the emails you have to receive there, Tim.
Well, a dedicated email line, yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Just between you and me, Tim, that's where that dedicated email line is.
Tim's using all the bandwidth of the village. That's what it is.
Actually, Adam, I think with your 800, I think we know where the village bandwidth's gone.
Yeah, in reality, obviously, we can do up to 1 gigabyte in speed. So it's anything from 50 up to 1 gig, but obviously the cost would need to go up because each of the links obviously only have a certain amount of bandwidth. But you know, in reality, I can't see many people in the village wanting more than 100 meg in reality, if not 50 meg. But I think it's the benefit of actually having at the moment, we have peaks and troughs in terms of the time of day when it gets faster and slower. You wouldn't have that on this service because it's pure fibre from the point of wireless. So those kind of issues we get, it just wouldn't be the case.
Adam, one question: how resilient is this to helicopters flying over it? Any risk of secondary pathways? No,
not at all. No, it operates on completely different frequencies, and you know, this is an industry standard technology, and you know, we're not going to be struggling with issues with helicopters flying past. Because of the height of it, the repeaters are only going to be operating a meter above chimney height, because that's the limit you have to have on in terms of without planning permission required, and as you can see from actually on this link here, the clearance above ground is quite limited actually, so there's not a lot of clearance above ground. So the height the helicopter is going to be flying, 250 feet and above ground, you're not going to be coming into challenges with this.
Curiosity, Adam, just so that in case anybody out in the wide YouTube world is curious, how resilient is it to vegetation, etc.? I presume it's pretty fine.
Funny you should say that, actually. So trees can cause issues, but what you tend to do is, for the main links, they are line of sight. So the high speed links are line of sight, and we've already I've flown a drone up to make sure that is the case. When you get to the distributions, vegetation can cause a problem, but what you tend to do is, because we are essentially operating on Main Street, you can actually piggyback it down the village. So essentially you're piggybacking it point to point down the village to try and avoid that. But basically, if a customer can see another dish, then that's fine. If they do have trees in the way, there's no way around it. You can actually change the frequency to make it less susceptible to interference of vegetation, but that's a minor detail, really.
But
and presumably with your drone, you've established that there aren't any major trees or woodlands or forestettes between the Overtown Football Club and Kev's house.
Not at all. No.
Absolutely clear all the way.
Fantastic. As I said, I'm just thinking about what questions people that are watching this might have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have put a very high level description on the forum as well, just with information. At this stage, I've not released maps or anything like that, because this is all still in the forming. But the other view is I would be looking to put a feeler out in the village of a small party, and I say probably 4 or 5 people who would be interested in volunteering to help support it as well. And when I say support it, in terms of being trained to do an install and be on a rota to be essentially on the end of the phone if they get problems, because in reality, even though it's a community-led service, it would need to obviously still be responsive if someone's bits of kit get damaged or broken or whatever. So that's something I need to feel out as well. But I do feel running it as a cooperative for the village, I think it's one of those things that we can actually directly benefit people who are going to be relying more and more on internet as we move forward over the next few years. So I think it's something that that would be a really good thing for the village.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, there. I don't have a lot more to say on the village broadband, so unless anybody else has.
You might not be so fuzzy if that happens. You're quite fuzzy at the moment, whereas Adam's a beautiful picture.
That's because he's closer to Tim's place. He gets better links, better broadband. Okay.
I think Tim must have got a new microphone, because I can hear him much better this month.
I've also got a new camera, well, an old camera plugged in rather than relying on the laptop's one, Hamish, which is why it's no longer quite as laggy. Okay,
then, if that's the end of that, we'll move on to item 13 then, allotments.
So we're going from a great agenda item to a less supported agenda item. Thanks, Kev. Yeah, I think on this one really, so the progress has been happening since I spoke to the parish councillors last month. Obviously, I've had no further comments back in terms of what was presented last month in terms of the design. Generally, I felt people were supportive of the approach in terms of the layout of the area. And since then, obviously, I've had further discussions with Juliet and the Green Steps guys about the funding for the grant, which I think is going to be a good route to look at getting this going. In the meantime, my plan for this month, as it's the driest month of the year, is to make sure I get out and start pegging out. Now I've got the design as a draft, I'm going to be pegging out those areas and those plots so we can get some, obviously get some opinions and some ideas on what's going on with there, and then look at prepping those areas in terms of covering them over, ready for next year, so they can start killing back all the cooch that's in there. I will be, I have spoken to Juliet in terms of actually having a chat with her husband as well about getting some advice. Obviously, he's a professional in that kind of in the gardening space as well. But at this stage, it's going to be pegging out the areas per the design I presented last month. And then obviously we'll wait to see what happens with the grant from the climate emergency grant to then decide whether we go all guns blazing to get it turned over, or we do it in a slightly slower time. But the couple of points I guess to raise is that, you know, we're getting it marked out, getting it prepped, ready for next year, and then based on the responses we get from the survey as well, we'll reach out directly to those people to say, you know, what this is the actual plan, and then give them an idea on when they might be able to have access to that.
Brilliant. Okay, Tim. Adam.
Wow.
Yep. Sorry, mate. It's getting late for me. I've been up very early.
No, good work.
Okay. Moving on to item 14 then, Village Hall.
Nothing to report beyond what we've discussed. No meetings held, and we are waiting and basically starting the slow reopening in accordance with Tier 2. Very slow.
Sorry, I'm going to say cheerio now. I think that's all my bits covered. So thank you everyone for having me. Hope you finish soon. Bye.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks. Okay, item 15, recreational trust then.
Much the same as Tim, no income, outgoing, still outgoing, being inspected every day, know where the stopcock is, nothing else to report.
Thank you very much. Item 16, any other urgent matters?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to go back to Hamish very quickly.
Yep.
Hamish, I'm aware that obviously you had a change of bar staff earlier this year. As and when you get to open up again, if you do need a help behind the bar, then just give me a shout. I'll be happy to help from time to time if you need if you're short-handed.
That's very good of you, because like me can't do it because I can't hear what people are ordering, which is disastrous.
I can't promise to provide the same level of banter that you do, Hamish, though, but I can certainly put a good point.
Very good. Excellent. I'll bear that in mind.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, anything under item 16? Any other? No. Okay, we'll move on to 17, time and date of meeting. Still the 7th of January.
Unless anybody tells me differently. For information, I will be doing the agenda that week for that meeting on the Saturday, the 2nd of January.
Okay.
So any items to me before that time, please.
That's great. Thank you. That's really useful.
To be fair, Tim, that was why I thought I'd specifically mention it this time, just so that you guys can know when you need to get stuff to me for inclusion for grant applications or requests or whatever.
Okay. I think that concludes tonight's meeting then.
Right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
If I don't see you before then, have a good Christmas and New Year.